We're here in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, at the site of an old stone quarry. Today it's a shopping center, but 160 years ago today, August 20th, 1859, this was a stone quarry, and it was a place where John Brown met with Frederick Douglass. And Frederick Douglass had come here from his home in Rochester, New York, a place where John Brown himself had been for several weeks as he was working on his Constitution for his provisional government, as he called it, which he intended to install after the uprising of slaves that he envisioned. And Frederick Douglass was really a famous man in his own right by this time. He was an oracle. He was a prophet of abolition. He was a militant abolitionist, and he was one of the comparatively few people who would say and write publicly that a violent solution may be the only solution to slavery. He had the ability to say that primarily because he had been raised under the slave-holding system. He understood the depth of that system. He understood the difficulty of ending it by any peaceful means. And he had previously discussed these concepts with John Brown, and because John Brown also was an apostle of a violent attack on slavery, the two of them were friends. And Frederick Douglass did come here at John Brown's request, and he brought money for John Brown, a small amount of money, but money to help John Brown with his campaign that he was putting into place here. But during this meeting that happened on over a 3-day period, on August 19th, August 20th, and August 21st, a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, John Brown for the first time revealed the details of his actual attack plan for Harpers Ferry, of his actual plan to take over by surprise the United States arsenal at Harpers Ferry, of his actual plan to capture the town of Harpers Ferry and to essentially hold it hostage against the slaveholding Republic of Virginia. It was a plan that stupefied Frederick Douglass. He went into shock when he heard it. Although he heard John Brown talk about trying to free slaves and go into the South to do it, he had thought John Brown had in mind the kind of a venture such as the Underground Railroad or Harriet Tubman on a larger scale, going there, infiltrating, finding African Americans who wanted to escape bondage and helping them escape in large numbers. He did not realize until this meeting that John Brown actually was planning a terrorist attack. And when Frederick Douglass learned of the terrorist attack, he immediately disagreed violently with it, vehemently. He did his very best over this 3-day period to not only decline to participate, but to talk John Brown out of it, telling John Brown, this will only serve to keep the slaves in their fetters that much longer. He understood, which John Brown didn't, that the reality of the situation is that a terrorist attack typically does not achieve its goals. Typically, a terrorist attack is most successful in producing a counter reaction to it that's even stronger than the cause. It essentially makes the cause less popular, typically, because normal law-abiding people, whether they be North or South, are revolted by the idea of an attack in cold blood on essentially innocent civilians. And that's the kind of attack that John Brown had in mind, and it's the kind of attack that Frederick Douglass declined to participate in. And Frederick Douglass was not a terrorist, whereas John Brown was. That's the difference between those two men, and it's a difference that was never more evident than here at this former stone quarry site, and it's part of our Profiles in Terrorism series.